Plaintiff, Maureen Stephan, was addicted to crack by the age of 20, and she often prostituted herself to support her addiction. Maureen claims she lost custody of all 5 of her children due to drugs, and she met the defendant when they were incarcerated. Maureen's suing her today for the balance due on a loan. Defendant Emily Diamond says she was addicted to crack by the age of 18, and 4 days after she gave birth to her son, he was taken away by social services. Emily insists Maureen loaned the money to her brother, not to her, so she refuses to pay.
Start with you.
Okay, Your Honor, I've had a hard past. I started using drugs at the age of 17. I was addicted to crack by the age of 20. I slept with people for money to support my addiction. I've been in and out of jail. I lost custody of my children.
How many?
5.
Who took care of them?
They were adopted out. I made a lot of bad choices in my life, and I've struggled through a lot of things, but I'm
How did
sober.
you get off crack?
By the grace of God, He delivered me from the addiction.
And a lot of people want that to happen, so what did you say exactly to God?
I prayed for years for this to happen.
Okay.
And finally in 2013 or 14 is when He did. I don't crave it.
And you haven't had a relapse?
No, I don't even desire it. I don't miss it. I don't crave it or anything.
Okay.
It's amazing.
And what have you been doing with yourself since 2014?
Struggling to get by. I finally found a place to live. In 2015, I was staying with a friend of mine in the basement. I rented the basement for $100 a month.
You had a job? You got a job in 14?
No, I'm on A&D, waiting for my disability.
Okay. What's your disability?
Mental and physical. I have a heart problem. I have bad back. I have degenerative disc. I'm bipolar, manic depressive.
Did you ever take medication for that?
Yes, I do.
When did you start?
I started in 2003.
How old were you? Well, 2003, and you started using crack at what age?
When I was 20 years old.
When you got on medication, you were how old?
In 2003, so.
You don't know how old, ma'am?
No, I don't. I don't keep track of how old I am and what year. I'm sorry, I don't.
You need to, because that's what addicts have to do. They have to keep track of every day that they've been off drugs, because typically they'll relapse.
I've been off crack cocaine since 2013.
How old are you now? Let's
54.
do the math. 54. And you were on crack for 20 years? Or age 20?
At the age 20.
And what age did you stop? You don't know?
Oh, when I stopped, 2013, yes. I was 53, or 50. I'm sorry.
You went years before you start medication.
Correct.
All right. Because some people needed medication all along, and instead of the medication, they use drugs. Drugs get you high and make you feel better sometimes. And unfortunately, you become addicted to that feeling that illegal drug provides instead of getting medicated for the chemical imbalance that's in your mind. Those things you mentioned are chemical imbalances, and you can't solve it with just going to counseling. Many people, they go to drugs because that makes them feel better. And so I was trying to understand whether that's the case. Let me hear from you, ma'am. You give me some background on what you want me to know.
My name is Emily Diamond, and I've grown up in a troubled past as well. I was addicted to crack cocaine, and by the time I was 18 years old, I went, and then I got pregnant when I was 25 years old, and while I was pregnant, I found out I was pregnant on July 9th, and I had a child 5 days later. Not knowing, my doctors didn't know, my mom didn't know, my family didn't know.
What year was this?
This was in 2003.
Okay.
With that being said, I told the doctor that I was pregnant, and that I had used drugs while being pregnant, not knowing that I was pregnant, and he charged me with felony, or he turned me into social services. They took my child away when he was 4 days old. Me and my mom and my brother, we had visitation rights at the time. I finally ended up getting joint custody back with my mom and I.
When?
As being his guardian.
When?
This was in 2003 as well.
Oh, so okay, less than a year you went.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, I got arrested for the felony child abuse and the drug charge.
I thought you said you had gotten arrested and you got off of it.
No. I started taking UAs and stuff through social services, and I ended up getting my kid back. Me and my mom got joint custody, and then I got arrested they had put out the charges, like I was on a deferred sentence for the theft. I was in trouble for a theft charge as well, okay? Because during my addiction, I had stole some coins from my stepmom.
I know you stole everything from everybody.
Yeah.
We're trying to establish what I'm confused about your child. That's what I'm saying. Just a minute ago, you say the child was taken from you, and within 2003, the child was returned. And you say after the child was returned is when you got charged for child endangerment or abuse.
Yes, that is.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to make sense of it.
Okay.
They charged you one time, then they gave you the child back. Is that correct?
I hadn't been charged with the felony child abuse at the moment.
How did they take your child?
They took him away because I had drugs in my system.
Okay, but they didn't charge you.
Later, yes, they did.
But they returned them before they charged you.
Yes, they did.
All right, and how did that go once the child came back? Who kept the child?
It went good until I got arrested. 3 months later, they took me to prison. I had a $50,000 bond, and I was sentenced to 2 years DLC, 3 years parole. Anyways, I went to prison. My brother and my mom had raised my kid.
Oh, that's why you're crying? You're crying about your kid? I hope so. That's why you're crying?
Yeah.
Okay, I hope so. Go ahead.
Anyways, I went to prison, and I had been in and out on parole. I learned everything the hard way. My son was still stable with my family, so I continued to let him stay there because I was still in and out of my addiction, getting in trouble with the law. And then I lost both of my parents in 2011 and 2012, a year and a month apart, which led me to getting arrested 8 months later for a DUI that I had gotten in 2010, and this is where I met Maureen. I was incarcerated with her in Jefferson County Jail for 6 months together. We became really good friends. I had talked to my brother. Something had happened with his truck, and he was having a hard time taking care of my kid and fixing his truck. She had offered to lend my brother the money.
When was the last time you came out of jail or prison?
It was in February of this year. I got released from ICCS, which is a halfway house in Denver.
How old is your son now?
He's 14, and I have him back, sir.
How many times have you been to rehab?
I've been to rehab twice.
Inpatient?
Yes, sir.
And yet it didn't work?
Yeah, it did, actually. It took a second.
I'm not going for all this, oh, poor me, you're the victim, you're not the victim. Cry all you want. I cry for the child. Hand me some tissue so I can cry for the child and your 5. That's who need the tears. Now, while you're clean, at that point, you say, my son, my son, my son, every single day. That's what you think of and you hope to get back to. And that is the motivation you use once you get out to go to NA 2 times a day, every day, 3 times a week, to keep yourself strong so that you can stay with your child and not leave him again for drugs. So that's where the focus is with me. Delon, tell me about it.
Well, as we were locked up, Emily was on the phone with her brother one day, and he stressed to her that his truck does not run, and her child has no way to get back and forth to school. I had money in my property, so I offered to loan her money, $1,000 to fix the vehicle, and she guaranteed me that I would be paid back.
Ma'am?
She lent the money to my brother, sir.
I didn't even know her brother.
Did you agree to pay her back on behalf of your brother?
Yes, I agreed to help him out.
Did you agree to pay her back on behalf of your brother?
Yes.
You're acting with crackish ways. I don't know if you own it or not, but you have crackish ways. Yes! After you gotta hesitate, figure, try to see how you can scheme your way out of this because you schemed ever since you've been on crack. When you couldn't come up with a scheme because you know the judge know the game, then you come with the yes! Have a good day. Love you for the plane.